Hi, I'm Bonnie Log Cabin Stitcher. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my sewing room. And thank you so much for spending time visiting with me today. It has been a while since I did my last video. It was the beginning of August and it was the day before I went on our last cross-state trip. And it seems like I like to do videos right before I leave somewhere. I don't like packing, I don't like planning, and so going on trips gives me a lot of anxiety. And when I'm doing these videos, I'm alone in my room, which is great for an introvert, and I'm talking about the things that I love to people who want to hear from me. And I think there's a lot of power in that, in the availability of stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of garbage on YouTube, but there's a lot of good stuff too. And I think that is what really gets me going and really wanting to do these videos, because I know that there's so many different personalities out there. There's so many different desires and times that we feel like doing things or being a part of something, and other times that we don't. So it makes me happy to know that people want to watch and listen to me, and that people get joy and I can brighten your life in some form, and that you can also pause. And because I tend to do longer videos, I put them off for a long time because they scare me. It's scary to do this. And right now I have stuff piled all over and I haven't really planned things out. And so I'm just going for it. And sometimes I'll start these videos and just delete them because it's just like too much. Too much. Too much stupid things that I say, or I just can't get in the groove because it is so weird. Those of you who do these videos know what I'm talking about. I'm looking, I can't even look, like right now I'm looking at myself, but I have to look over the button so it looks like I'm looking into your eyes. So it's very disconcerting quite often, and I just have to lose myself in it. And there you are. There you are. So here I am. I have a lot of things that I have been wanting so long, because it's been 2.5 months, to share with you. And one of the things is I got to go to Canada for the first time in my life. We crossed the border north and went into Canada. I had to get a passport. I had to be a big girl and get a passport. And it was amazing. And it was a wonderful trip. And there's so much that I want to share with you about that. It was a bucket list trip, and I got to go with my sister-in-law, her husband, and my nephew, who was so impressed that I had a YouTube channel and that I actually had people watching me. And he wanted to be on a video with me, and we were going to do something together. But I told him, you have to learn how to stitch and you have to show what you stitch. But he plays piano beautifully, and we were going to do something together, and it didn't work out. But I have a little video of him running up and down the steps. It was cool, of our Airbnb. So we'll see if I get that in this one or figure out how to do another one, because I still haven't figured out how to edit.
Good job, victory at the top.
And yes, on that trip, I got to meet my dear friend, Shanda, in person. We got to hug for real. Shanda Stitching in Idaho, she was my gateway girl, on getting me interested in floss tube, but also in participating in these videos, because the first time I watched her, it was at a day of a beginning of a new life for me as an empty nester. And just that I was watching a video of someone in her sewing room talking to me as if I was there, I'm like, this is really, really cool. So Shanda, I know on her video she showed pictures of us, so we'll see if I can get that figured out. But it was truly amazing. And we talked about you guys. So one of the things that we talked about, sitting at this bench in Idaho, it was so wonderful, was how we can be a blessing to our stitching family, and how we can encourage them to use the things that they have and not feel the need to buy, but use what they have and be creative and just bring joy. So we talked about you. Let's talk about the stitching. So I got this guy done. I worked on it on this trip. So this is the dime store. A nice small quilt that I've been sharing. This was a great one to bring stitching, because I cannot do cross stitch when my husband's driving, or we were in a van and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law were driving. That was great. But I was able to do some hand quilting. So it's done, it's bound, and it was up there on the wall and I had to bring it down. But it was so fun. I have been fascinated with circles, and this one I call a squircle. But technically I looked up squircle, and technically a squircle is something that is more circular. So it kind of adds a little bit of bowing out here. This is really just a curved edge square, but I like the name Squircle. So it's done and I'm excited. But it was so funny when I was first doing this, it didn't look that exciting. When I finished just the top, it looked boring. And I thought, I can always give it away. But as I am quilting it, it comes to life. Just like I used to be a woodworker, and I would have all these things laid out on the floor, and I often did dolls or things with faces, and they were boring. They were not alive until I put their face on. I put their eyes on, and then they would come to life. That's how I feel with my quilting, is that it helps a simple pattern come to life. And I think what really made this pop was all the mediums and darks that were in the charm pack. It was a very old charm pack, and I think it was a Linda Brannick charm pack, but there was many mediums and darks, so I just added the lights, and I did it very scrappy, which I have so many little pieces of fabric, and I'm trying to look at this. Yep, this one is different than this one. So that's the fun thing, is use what you have, even if, and I like very scrappy, so every one of these was a different fabric, and then different fabrics on the border. So the border, and we crossed the border when I was stitching this. So it's fun. It's Squircles, so it's not a squircle. It's whatever you want to make of it. And I wanted to share with you how I'm doing this. So for those of you that want to try the hand quilting, every time I do any of these videos, I share a little bit more and more about it. And there's something I want to ask of you, but we'll wait for a little while. So I have so much here to share with you. I may end up pushing stop because it's kind of overwhelming just looking at everything. But what I do is I get plastic template paper. Here we go. I knew I had one of these here. And this was something that I just did last week. So all I do is I get, this of course is not for this block, but I get I lay out the block, I lay out a piece of this template plastic, and you can get it, it's just called template plastic. And I just simply use a Sharpie, making sure it's only on here. I draw it out, and if I like it, I keep it, and then I cut it with scissors, and then I go the other way and I cut it with scissors so I'm wide enough to be able to mark it. And then I kind of have to hold on to it as I go along. So don't let needing to get a specific stencil stop you. Just get something and draw it out. So this is my quilt, finished and done, and it was my travel one on my trip. So let's see. Oh my word, how are we gonna do this? Okay, I also want to share with you some of my favorite things. This is a pillow I have had for a very long time. I love doing wool embroidery. No, wool applique. Wool applique. And see, everything has had fuzzies on him. And this is my new, I've had these. So this I got at Costco. I think I bought a six pack. And I have been using these like crazy. So to get all the lint and fuzz off, because this is my room where everything goes flying. I'm shaking things off, making dust go all over, and playing with fabric. And so all I do, I've been doing this with a lot of my stuff and getting things cleaned off. So that is one of my other favorites. And look at, I didn't prepare tons of stuff because I know I overthink things, and that's why it's been 2.5 months since I did this. Part of it is overthinking. So some of the patterns I grabbed, this is an old book, but there it is. It was a wool hooked little chair pad, but I just took that pattern and did that. But these, if you can find these Needle Love, they're called threads, and these books are amazing. But sometimes you can find them. I think, you know, it's the secondary market, and I've been enjoying doing some buying of some old things. So that's a favorite thing. Another favorite thing are gifts that I have had. I have a friend that gave me this fun tin, and I love using these funnel tins because it reminds me of my friend. And then, whoops, oh, here's what I was going to talk to you about. These are a lot of my needles and my favorite stitching things. So this is what I get for doing my hand quilting. I use embroidery needles, and I tend to use, this is a new pack that I got out, I tend to use this one. So this is size 5/10 assorted. So I believe it's the size 9 that I use a lot, and I have not seen it in a single pack. And I did get another pack of embroidery 5/10 because it's size 5 to size 10. And so I'm thinking, as I'm, you know, that's why these are so hard, because I'm thinking, is the big one size 5 and the small one size 10? Whatever it is, that's the one that I use a lot. So for those of you that understand a brain that doesn't think so well on the fly, that's me. So these are my favorite, and Peacemakers is my favorite. I think I bought John James off of Amazon just to try it, and it didn't have the feel that I was comfortable with, and maybe that's because I primarily use Peacemakers. I don't know, but those are the things that I use. Another favorite is this. So I really like Mary Ellen's Best Press. I buy it now in a larger size, and I just stick it in this bottle. But this is my favorite because it is not as stiff as this one. And I get, I know I've shared about this before, scent-free. Artificial fragrances are not good for you. If you just search hidden dangers of artificial fragrances, you'll see all kinds of nasty things. So scent-free, and then this one I was finally able to buy a scent-free one. This is what I use for my my applique that I do. So I need something stronger. I do the freezer paper applique. So I have these, and then this is all the stuff that I have right here, and then I have just plain water. So these are the 3 things that I use a lot for quilting. A few of my favorite things. And some of my other favorite things are using old containers. So I had a friend pick this up for me at an antique store in Lake Arrowhead, where our home, we still own the cabin, so where that one is. But I love using these old containers, and this is waiting for me to do the binding on this quilt that I did for our my Willow Woods California Guild. They asked me to do this little small quilt, and it's just waiting for this because I was just working with the scraps left over from an auction quilt they did. And my trick, the trick that I learned that I did not do for this one because I was in California when I was cutting it out, but this is what I try to do. I get the bindings all ready. When I get a quilt top done, I get the binding done. I hand quilt it generally, and then I've got this ready to go. Well, I didn't do that for this one, so this has been waiting for 2 months for me to get finished. So we'll see if I can do that. But it was so cool. On one of our trips, we went over the $1 Million Highway. So if you just Google $1 Million Highway, it's gorgeous but terrifying if you were doing it in slippery weather because it is a steep drop off. But we did that, and I think it was a couple weeks ago, and it was truly amazing. Where was I going with that? Oh, so we stayed in this darling town called Ouray for our anniversary. Then we drove up to Silverton, which is at almost 10,000 feet. So, you know, you're breathing now because it's hard to breathe there when you're walking around. But we did that, and we went to the most amazing, we've been into historical museums, and we did a mining museum. We were there for 2.5 hours, and then it's like, oh my gosh, we're done. Let's just go eat. But it was amazing, and they had all these old, fun, old-timey things. Now, I have this, I love old enamelware, and I collect it. But I had always assumed this was like a doctor's office thing, and they were showing a display, but it was photography. So when you're doing your own negatives, this was what they used, or this was what was in the picture. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, some of my other favorite things, decorating with old funky stuff. This was my mom's, and old part of a quilt, and I love just putting it under something. So I was just kind of cleaning off that area right there, and this was sitting there because I use it different times, different places. I love pattern books, and I have a lot of pattern books, but they are some of my favorite things. I can't tell you how many times I have flipped through this. Look at all that. I have flipped through this book. So whatever it cost me, generally I don't pay full price for things. Whatever it cost me, I have gotten my money's worth out of it. So here's another one, and I love getting things used. I found this one used. I think it was like $6.50. So I love ABE books, thrift books, Amazon used. So it's a fun one, but it reminds me of this. So, dusty stuff. When I was in California, when we were displaced, when we were living at the cabin, but there was the big blizzard, we were living at different places, and there was a estate sale. I picked this up for $1, and there's just so many fun pictures in there. But I love Kim Deal, and I love how people display things, and so that gives me an idea of how to display things. Oh my word, 25 minutes. And what have I shared with you? This. Okay, that is, it was off of the front of a book. Goodness knows. I probably have it here. I have a huge pile. I better get going. Okay, this is that. This is that. So that was my one. So my California Guild. See, I just love looking at the close-ups of those pictures. So amazing. But search for these used. It's amazing how many there are used. And if you get the joy out of pattern books like I do, they are worth having. Okay, quilt retreat. Let's talk quilt retreat. So this is one, and this was, okay, so this is, isn't this fun? More Squircles. And it's so fun. One of the ladies walked by me, and we were all looking at the things that we were doing. And she said, oh, that 9 patch is different. So most 9 patches are like this, darks and lights. This was all mediums and darks. And so that was super fun. And then look at Squircles. So this is the one that I showed you that that drawing from. So just simply drew it out. I like it not to be perfect. So you'll see it is not perfect. And that's the aim that I'm going for. I think I have finished. Yes, that's why, because now I got the binding going. So this was the narrowest binding that I did. So now I'm cutting this at 2 inches and I'm folding it in half so it doesn't, so it's not overwhelming for a large quilt. I always hand stitch my binding on, and I really enjoy it because I love stitching. And when I'm doing the binding, that's it, it's done, then it's going to be ready to display. And sometimes I even use them while they're in the works. So this one is getting done, and I use a 50 weight thread. Let's take a drink. Reset my brain. I use a 50 weight thread. I love Aurifil, and I use that from my machine. And then I also use it for hand stitching. I have talked about DMC 50 weight machine sewing thread. It looks like it's discontinued now. So I have it, but only because I already had it. And I'm using that, but it has a lot of bright colors. But Aurifil 50 weight. I usually do my hand applique with 80 weight Aurifil because it's very, very thin, but I don't feel like when I'm stitching, sometimes it will break as I'm stitching the bindings on. So I use the 50 weight. What book is this from? Goodness knows. Goodness knows. That was something I could have had already. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is why so many tabs here. And that's the other thing I do. In the morning with coffee, I have an hour. Generally, I have my morning coffee and I have an hour. And this beautiful house that we have 3 different places that have amazing views that will sit together. My husband and I, now that he's retired, have our coffee together, and he knows I don't talk for an hour. And I just look and drink coffee and plan. So either it's Pinterest or going through my pattern books. So this one I did, this was Charm School. So this book went with me on retreat. So see, I did it almost exactly because I love Kim Deal fabrics and I collect them, and I have 2 drawerfuls of them. So that is, that's it, Charm School. And very fun, bright, they're kind of like jewel tones, colors. So there we go. That one almost ready to be done. And then in my guild, we have, so in my Colorado guild, we have a churn dash challenge, and this has to be done by this Thursday. It has to, they're so hardcore. It has to be finished. So it has to be bound by Thursday for it to count. So this is what I'm doing. So it is Kim Deal Fabrics. But it is from a pattern that I found on Pinterest from Temecula Quilt Company. All the directions are there. It's called Dashing Through the Snow. I'll try to link that. But I found, oh my word, 3-inch blocks are finicky. And I did more unsewing than I did sewing. And I'm trying to do this as I'm chatting and talking with friends. But I wanted a small one. This goes on a very old, my grandparents' metal Coca-Cola cooler. And I have a funky tree that we bought when we were doing Christmas at the cabin, little tiny tree at a thrift store, and I call it my Dr. Seuss tree. This is going to be under that tree, and you can see part of it, and then I have cute little things that I'll put here. But I am playing with working on it because I wasn't completely happy when I don't know that you can really see it. But you know, when you spend so much time on something, you want it perfect. And being so small and finicky, see there's kind of gathers. Generally when I'm quilting it, it takes care of all that. But see that, I can still see gathers. And granted, most of it's going to be under a Christmas tree. So I keep telling myself, just chill out and do it. And maybe I'll even throw it through the wash and get it, I was going to say percolated, all puffy. So I'm trying, I have a hard time because as I'm trying to figure out how to quilt this. It wasn't coming together as much as I wanted to. And when I just laid it down on that area, because it's kind of in a darker corner, I just threw it on top of that Coke container, and it looked beautiful, not quilted. So I thought, okay, I tried to do squircles in here, and I didn't really like it. So I'm going to figure that out. This will be shared on my next one. But see, this was where I already have the binding ready to go because I got to get this thing done. And this is where the leftovers of the larger quilts are great to have for that. So did I tell you? Yes, Dashing Through the Snow, Temecula Quilt Company, off of her blog. So that was done. Then I was in the mood to do smalls, and because I like to use designers fabric lines, like this was all Kim Deal fabrics from that, and I like to do that, but I gotta flow with it, and if I don't have enough, I need to cross lines and do different fabric designers. Isn't it funny how you get in the mood and it's like, I want to do a Kim Deal pattern with all Kim Deal fabrics, and it's like, well, girl, let's just get this thing done and have fun and do it. But I loved this one, and I loved her fabrics. And let's see if I can get that off of the light. I loved her fabrics, and I had quite a few of them because Fat Quarter, I love to search online sales. And one time, Fat Quarter Shop, this was years ago, had Kim Deal fabrics like $8.50 a yard. And I thought, whoa, 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 whoa. Because even at that time, I think they were like $11 a yard. So I bought quite a few, like yard pieces, I can't even remember, but I've got lights and darks, and it's marvelous, but I haven't gotten, they're sitting there in my closet now that I can see them. So it was really fun. So I was trying not to get hung up on it, but look at how cute the one is that it's going to be. So that's from this book. And here we go. Ta-da! Oh, I've had it folded sitting there, but oh, I had it thrown on the couch because I needed to start working on it. But again, I was like getting over these finicky little pieces because see, you can see there's gathers there. So as I quilt it, I want to make those disappear. And oh my word, I went to visit a friend of mine that's in my quilt guild, and it's like, okay, so how do you deal with the wad of seams at a pinwheel? So she was showing me, as she does batiks. They fold very nice and flat, but I'm not a batik girl, so I'm going to figure this one out. Hopefully this will get quilted and done soon, but doesn't it kind of look like the one from the book? So fun, fun, fun. And I was really in the mood for, because it's fall. What is today? October. So we've got October going, and I have not decorated for October because I had my injury last month. I had my injury last week when I was setting up at our quilt retreat. I bent over to do something, and I pulled a muscle in my back from my last injury. I've had 2 years in a row. I had a back injury, and so as you get older, things hurt, and it's like it shouldn't have hurt, but it did. So get over it, Bonnie. And so I could sit and stitch. That was good. Okay, what else do I want to show you? Back and forth with some of my favorites. Here's something else. I love containers. And so in all the years that I've been doing things, I have found plastic boxes, even though they don't breathe. Plastic boxes are great containers. So this is Sterilite. I think I bought them. There we go. You can kind of see Sterilite. I bought some, I don't know, Target or something or other, and then I found them online. And they're great because I bought this set, and it has a lid. See, it's dusty. It has a lid, and then this is all one project. And so when I'm on the phone, I don't sit still very well unless I'm very intently sitting still. So a friend of mine gave me all of her leftovers, and I was using these for the leader and enders. As a quilter, you would know what that is. And so I just need to trim all these up, and I have my block lock triangle trimmer, so while I'm on the phone I can do that. So I keep this by this table because then I could sit here while I put my whoever I'm talking to on speaker and do my thing. So this is another one. So these I just finished. This is a leftover, and I can't remember if I showed you a fall quilt, so you're going to get to see it again. These are all the leftovers, so these are going to become something, but I will be able to iron or press and trim while I'm on the phone with someone. And then these are ones that are already done, and see the notes, because goodness knows how long it was that I started those. So these are just ideas from leftover quilts. Trim, see how small they get, trimmed down. So that's why I like this container. And I had the ruler, the little tiny ruler in here. And when I went to the retreat, I didn't have it with me. But since we came home every night, I got that ruler. And I got to use that for the Kim deals. So that's nice and tight. So I'm going to get this done even while you're listening to it click. If I can get that done. So I've got this all ready to go. So a time is never wasted if I want to do something. Oh, here was another fun thing without jiggling you. When I went on that retreat, I picked up a friend of mine and we went together. So I needed to get all our stuff in the car. And I thought, how can I keep organized? And so I went to Hobby Lobby. That's like our only craft store in town. And I thought, what can I use to keep my rulers flat? Because rulers are treasured quilters things, especially, this is my new favorite brand, Quilter Select. Love these. And they're expensive. So how can I keep my rulers safe? So this was, as I was walking through, this was in the art department, and it's one of those folio. It was $12. Oh, and that's the other fun thing. So look at this. Now I go back to here, and this is how this will be treasured for me, because look what I did. I saved this because I knew I'd want to talk to you guys about it. $11.99. This was the size that it was. And it's even funny because I was going to take that over to the sewing section just to make sure that my stuff would fit in it, because I wanted to take this. And I also wanted to take, oh, it's probably still in here. See, I'm keeping this here because this is an extra one I bought when I was at the cabin, because everything was in storage. This is even able to fit in there, and it was all together. They had that cutting mat in the art section, so I guess artists use that too. But I'm able to keep this. So this was from the woman who passed away too. This was one of those nifty, the nifty Olfa things. And I know you've got to keep it flat. They're expensive. I know you've got to keep it flat. And so in here, under my quilt table against something solid, it stays flat. So that's one of my new favorite things. Let's get that put away. And what else should I share with you? Okay, here we go. This is something, let's see, this is what I always do, which is why my room is always so dusty. Can't remember if I showed you guys this, but I worked on this last year at the cabin, and Shanda. Okay, so Shanda's video, she was sharing some of the new fabrics that she bought, and it was Pam Buda's. There's peppercorns. Oh my word, what is it, Shanda? Peppercorns and coal, peppercorns and cheddar, I think. And then, no, anyway, I'm looking up here. Nope, they're not there. They're in my other room. Anyway, I'll put it in there. But she has two different lines, cheddar and coal and peppercorns and acorns or something or other. But I bought layer cakes, and this was a quilt that I did at the cabin. And again, it was small pieces and it was finicky. And somehow the bigger ones don't seem to be like, you have to get them so precise. But I was trying to figure out how to lay out the quilting, because this was a funky design. And I thought, well, what can I do? A Squircle didn't want to work. So I just did a grid, and it was amazing. As I did it, I just followed the lines all the way through in doing that. But this is such a cool fabric line. But I'll put that information in there. And I have found, because I like a lot of the non-traditional or traditional fabrics, the darker fabrics, and now the brighters, batiks, and all that is more popular in most stores. But Fat Quarter Shop and Shabby Fabrics are where I purchased. It was an older line that has been going on, but you can still find yardage available. So anyway, and I have those, people have asked me, because they like how I put quilts together, how do you decide, how do you choose fabrics? And so recently, like that was all, ooh, there we go. That was all from curated strips, 1-inch strips that I bought at a store probably 10 years ago. I just keep things together. I have one drawer that I have all of Pam Buda's dark fabrics in, and it just makes it easy when I want to do a quilt and I don't want to overthink. I just pull that box out, look for the fabrics that go. So the 10-inch squares are in there, the jelly rolls are in there, and the yardage is in there. So everything of those two lines will go together and play like nicely together. So when you don't want to think too much, that is a good thing to do. And keeping organized. My son used to call it norganizing. And so keeping things organized is my new keyword to try to help my aging brain. Whew. Okay, now this was something that on my last quilt video that I did, I was showing the quilts that are usually in the backdrop when I do the quilting videos. When I do my floss tube videos, I'm pointed that way and I have gorgeousness over there. So you'll get to see that when I do the floss tube next, which could be next year for all we know. This is generally hanging here. This I bought on my trip when we were in California in the fall. Granny's attic. I see dust floating through the air. Granny's attic in Temecula, California. I bought this and there was something about it. I didn't know for sure where I was going to put it, but there was something about, there we go, the design on those doors. It's an old jelly cupboard, but the design on those doors kept grabbing me, and I think it was $100, and I thought that's a lot of money if I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I thought I will find a place for it. And I love looking at that and looking at the design on that. But my husband helped me put up, we got, because I wanted to hang stuff down from it. So it was the curtain rod holders. He just cut it in half. I used to be the woodworker, but now I let him do the woodwork so I can keep all my fingers. So he cut it in half. We stained it. We got a rod. I already had a rod that was already stained. This hangs from it. This is my dear mom made this quilt. And again, this is a line of fabrics. And so that's why this one I think is so stunning, because it's a line of fabrics that all went together. She probably did this with my sister 20 years ago, but it was a line that they both would collect together. And it's a pattern, and I've shared this on one of my, forever ago when I was doing in California, when I was doing my quilting videos. I have shared this before. It's in a Christmas one. I'll try to find that. I have this for Christmas. I have this on my old wood ladder because I have a Santa that's very similar colors to this. But anyway, it's hand quilting with thread. So I have not, she tried to teach me how to do it, and I just haven't gotten the groove of it. But I think it is so stunning. Not because of the pattern necessarily, but because of the way she put the fabrics together, and the hand quilting just made it very, very beautiful. So this is, she had a circle table, and this is what she would use as a tablecloth. Can you imagine? But she made this 2002. And part of the reason you have not seen me, oh look at it, matches me. The anniversary, the 10th anniversary of her death is coming up on November 3rd. And this is the town that she lived in for a long time. And I miss her terribly. And so those thoughts have just been there, and they're tender because I'm squishy, and I miss my mom. I miss my mom. So that's that one. Now, this is one you have not seen, and circles. So this was another quilt that I had pieced and I took with me on a California trip, and we had, it was in earlier this year. We've been back and forth so many times. We had intended to stay at our cabin because we knew we would be putting it on the market. And I had texted my friends and said, oh, we're going to see you, because we were only going to be there a short time, I think only a week. And I text my neighbors up in the mountains and I said, we're going to see you, we're going to see you. And they're like, what are you doing here? We're not going to be able to come dig you out. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I knew there was going to be snow, but boy, oh boy, we woke up the next morning and we had to leave. And then we went to stay at my mother-in-law's into Murrieta. So I got to go to a quilt store, but I was not where I had planned to be. But God had a plan for that. And we got to be with my mother-in-law every day, either my husband or I, as she was in a skilled care facility. And then after that, she moved out of state. So God had a plan for that trip, even though it was different than I thought. But this was the quilt that I worked on the whole entire time that I was there. So let's see, how am I going to show this? So it's very blue, not generally what I do, but it's a beautiful quilt, if I do say so myself. And it's very fun. So I had a lot of memories for me in this quilt, as always. And it generally has to do, like all my fabric at one time, no, it was in storage all over the place. But all my stacks of blue was at my friend Judith's house here in Colorado. And so we were living at her house during that blizzard time. It was insane that time. 6 weeks we could not get to our cabin. Anyway, so all the blues were there. So I thought, okay. And I generally keep patterns. Oh, here we go. I will generally keep like if I'm going to do a quilt. So this is all different. So this is not a line. This was my mother's fabric. This is my fabric, a big mix of fabrics. But see, look at the circles. This was one of the places that I fell in love with circles. Circles, circles. So in case I forget, this was a quilt also that I was not in love with after I had pieced it. But what really made me in love with it, the circles, and then I just did circles again with this. So this was blue thread. This is darker tan thread. And I loved, because I was trying to figure out, how am I going to quilt the border? But I ended up, see, there's threads everywhere. I ended up, yes, you can really see it on this one. I did not know how it would look because machine quilting, you go over a design and that's just part of it. Hand quilting, I hadn't done that before. I usually stitched with the design. But this one, I just thought, and I was not home to have all my different stencils with me. So I just drew the circle, the same circle fit this, and it fascinates me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's different, but all summer I had this laying on the back of the couch and I would look at that. I had it folded so I would see these. But mom's fabrics, my fabrics, I'm sure my sister's fabrics too in here. But very fun. So it's called Blueberry Pie. And it is from this old, see, I keep these, I treasure these. So this old American Patchwork and Quilting, for those of you that have old ones, June 2007. But see, this is the one. And I did it almost exactly, see? Almost exactly like that. But now if you go on Pam, so this is a Pam Buda pattern. If you go on Pam Buda's website, I think it's Heartspun Quilts or something like that. I'll link it. You can buy that. You can buy, it's called Blueberry Pie. You can buy that just as an individual download. So you can still get it if you don't have this magazine. But there was leftovers from that of the, hang tight, it's gonna be hours if I keep this up. Where's that quilt? I made one with the, oh, here we go. It's all the way over here. Okay, this was one I made up with the leftovers. So half square triangles, just leftovers, and that's how I put it together. And I was bummed. I was trying to find, because it's kind of a lot going on, I really wanted the binding to be this. And that was hanging me up. I hadn't finished it because I was trying to buy this exact fabric, and I don't know, I had one piece, maybe it was a half yard. I didn't have enough for the binding, and I thought, just get it done. Just get it done. And it's fine. Would I prefer it matching? Yeah, but it's done and I love it. And I will probably hang it there next. But again, hand quilted. The one challenge though with dark fabric is as I'm quilting it, it pulls up. How can you see? So this is still the marking. This is the chalk marking pencil that I used. But sometimes it will pull up the cotton with the thread. So it's there. And I'll get over it because I love it. So there we go. Is that another one done? Yep. And what else have I been doing? I have been having so much fun doing these. I shared with you on the last one, making these little bags. These are just little totes that you can get at Hobby Lobby. And there's this stuff. Purple Paper Mountain is a place that I get that was a freebie, a little free thing. Purple Paper Mountain, Hobby Lobby, I can get lace. Lady Creates, you can get lace. Purple Paper Mountain, you can get lace. This is the vintage twill tape measuring stuff. I'm already losing it. Oh, it's an hour. That's why. Anyway, I also 1, 2, 3 stitch. I bought a whole roll of this, but I've just been having so much fun. So some nights when I just can't think, I'll just get my glue out and I use the Aleene's tacky glue. I learned this from Buda, putting it upside down to make sure you get it out. But I was going to take my stuff in this to my quilt retreat because it matches, because I took my featherweight. And it's coffee dyed. So if it was raining, it rains a lot in Colorado, it would have had spots all over it. And so I didn't use those. So that's the one fail with coffee dyeing, is that when it gets wet, it will run. Okay, so more of these. I've been kind of obsessed, but look at lint all over everything. That's in the works. So sometimes I'll just go and do that, put that on, and then decide later what I want to do. So it's just fun. Fun, fun, fun. Fun, fun, fun. Oh, my last little one. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, as I was putting away, I'm going to be decorating for fall. For the summertime, I have a very old wood ladder. I think it's like a harvesting wood ladder. It's a shape like this, and then it goes out, and I got it from my neighbor in California many, many years ago, and that was definitely something I wanted to find room for at this house. And I can hang 4 to 5 quilts on it, and at Christmas time, I love it. So I can get a lot of stuff on it. So I was pulling things down and I thought, oh, I got to share them with my friends. So I have talked about this quilt before on one of my California quilt videos, but here we go. This one, Linda Brannick, I had to search and search, but I'll put the pattern book in it below. It's secondary market only, but this is how the hand quilting, I just love the hand quilting because it just makes things fun. This smells dusty, so I need to take it outside. But the hand quilting brings it to life. Scrappy. Every pineapple is a different fabric, which is good because it was like I rarely have enough to do a binding, but sometimes a red floral focal kind of thing, I will try to buy 2 yards because I love using them for binding. Not binding, borders. You guys knew that though. Here is another one. So I don't know this pattern. I just saw a picture like this on Pinterest and I made it. So this is another older one. This Joe Morton. And again, I just searched red Joe Morton fabrics, I think. And it was on sale and I probably bought 3 or 4 yards because I knew I'd love it. So huge. So red was my theme. So fun. We had some friends over that we have so many new friends because we're in a new state. But we had some friends over from our church. We were doing dinners at everyone's house, and my friends came in and saw our house for the first time, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it looks so cabiny," and I think I love old things, and that's how I decorate. We have a beautiful wood floor that the previous owners had on their ranch floor, that they laid at this house and didn't take it with them. So the old things, because of the quilts and the old wood things that I love, it looks very cabiny. So here we go. This was another one, kind of brighter reds than I generally use. And I use this to Christmas time, Valentine's Day time, and then this year in the summertime. But again, hand quilted. And this one, memories of coming out to visit my mom out here. And she had wanted to do a quilt. And it was beyond her at that point, struggling with Alzheimer's. And so this is how I do things. So this was the quilt she had wanted to make because my sister had made it. And I knew she wanted to make it, and I wanted to help her do something simpler. So that was just 2.5-inch squares. I cut a gazillion tan and red 2.5-inch squares, but this, I finally found the real book on eBay, but this is a fun one. Sherry Payne, but this is another name, Sherry Safioti, however you pronounce it. My sister has made this quilt and it's gorgeous. So this is how I am trying to stay organized, but my sister gave me her scraps, and then I have all these were the scraps that I had cut out for that quilt, and that's how I keep things together. So that was probably 13 years ago, and I still haven't made that quilt, but I have everything together, so that way when I just have to start something new, I can do that. So that's one of my favorite tricks now too, to try to keep these things together. So that's Wednesday's best. Another thing that I had shared, an upcoming project that I wanted to do, and this is how I do it. I've got a lot of these boxes. So I gather the fabrics together for something that I want to do, but ages ago, 2.5 months ago, when I did that video, I just shared this. I shared something from this book really quickly. You can still get this new and used. Mary Claude Picon. She's French farmhouse. Who would have thought? And this is the project, Marie's alphabet, that I want to do. But see, that's what it will look like. I will probably change this up and probably just do a heart, but I just have stuff all together, and when I get the mood and it strikes me, I don't have to go searching for everything. I can just get something started, because I have trouble sleeping, and so sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, it's just like, I'm done trying to sleep. I'm just going to get up and do something. Generally then, if I do something for an hour, I will generally fall asleep. Oh, so many things to share with you, but I want to try to wrap this up. But someone had asked me from a video, because I said that I love this. I have old baskets that I got probably as a teenager from my grandparents' attic. And and you can buy these still. So these are just old vintage baskets. And this one is loaded with my cross-stitch stuff. So I love having things organized. And I love just sitting at that chair with my dog and my coffee, and I'll just look in the sewing room at all the treasures. So I have things collected together that make sense together, whether it's a quilt with fabrics that I have kind of together and I could just grab those, or I just love looking at the collections of things. So this is one, I think I have I have 3 antique baskets of stuff. So this is my cross-stitch stuff and my projects. So this holds a lot of stuff. But someone had asked, how did you, because I talked about lining. I think I should have gotten this stuff out before. I talked about lining. I have so much stuff. I don't ever need to buy anything again because I have stuff. Okay. I talked about lining it, and so someone said, how did you line it? So I've had this for a long time. It used to be years and years ago, many years ago, 40 years ago, it used to be have blue lining in it. So how did I do this? So the bottom part, look at this. This is how I did it. The bottom part is just a piece of cardboard. You can trace, like I probably got a piece of paper and traced out the shape. Even with my fingers, you could put a piece of paper in, crease it with your fingers and draw a pattern. And I simply lined it with this fabric. Isn't it cool? And I got it, it was at a place called $2 a yard, I think, in Anaheim. Anyway, so that's the bottom. And then look at this, simple, 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 simple. I probably just glued it in. So I just folded over this edge and that's there. It didn't even completely make it. So, and then there's a seam back there hidden, and I'm sure I just folded it over and glued it. So I do like that Aleene's glue. You're just folding these edges. So simple, simple, simple on how you can do it. And don't let the, I'm trying to learn, don't let the perfection, like I can see I didn't get it all the way up here. Not a big deal. I don't notice it, and I can tell it's already glued in there. Don't let that stop you. Just have fun and make something and just try it and do it. So hopefully that gives you inspiration on what to do. And I love keeping my cross stitch stuff in here. So, but I have to be careful with it because it's very old, just like me. Okay, what else? What else can I share? Oh my goodness, there's so many things that I want to share, but I need to put those aside. Okay, so I didn't even show you that quilt. I don't know where it is. So anyway, this was something that I had, one of the quilts that I had showed you. This, I love these stencils. So this one I use. I have this in a couple different sizes. This is the Stencil Company, still, and I've probably showed this one before. See, I bought it in January 2012. But this company is still in business, and you can get those stencils. So, so many things I want to share, but we're going to close this out. But the one thing that I learned from one of the people that I was following on minimalism, the Minimal Mom, she was talking about a book that came out by John Eldredge called Get Your Life Back. And she was talking not only about decluttering things, but decluttering your mind. And so she recommended to get the audiobook. So we got it, and my husband and I listened to it on the way one time we were coming from California to Colorado. We listened to the whole book. So we would listen to a chapter and then just listen to music, listen to a chapter, listen to music. We talk about it. And it was an excellent book. But I learned about an app called 1 Minute Pause by John Eldredge. And I think Wild at Heart is his business name. But it was amazing on being able to pause and let everything go. And he called it benevolent detachment. So this is where I'm going to talk about my spiritual part of me. But for benevolent detachment, it's kind of like he talked about how what a huge impact that song from Frozen, Let It Go, was. And so many people grabbed onto that concept of let it go, because there's so much that we get inundated with on social media. Every tragedy everywhere, we can learn about it in an instant because of social media. Pros and cons to that, but sometimes, especially for sensitive people, it is too much sorrow to consume to be able to do my life. And I struggle with that a lot. So I had to because I was kind of saturated in the line fire and wondering if our cabin was going to burn down. And knowing all the heartache of the devastation forest, I couldn't even learn about the hurricanes on the East Coast because it was just like I can pray for that whole situation, but I could not consume information for a while. And then when I did, I watched it one night and it was like, Lord, what do you want me to know about this? What do you want me to do about this? And so my husband and I decided how much we wanted to donate, and we did it through Samaritan's Purse because I trust them. And that was what we could do. And so it's amazing on limiting. I was talking to another friend. We have elections coming up, and that's huge thoughts for everybody, huge thoughts about the future, the past. And she was commenting in our women's Bible study of like, she's overwhelmed. And so I just shared with her that idea of we don't need to consume everything all the time and watch the news all the time. We can limit, and it's good for us. We need to set boundaries on limiting. So the 1 Minute Pause app by John Eldridge, I was going to have it up for you. Oh, here we go. So this is what I'm going through right now. So this is the app, and you can listen to it. I'm going through the book Resilient. It's on spiritual resiliency. There's also, I think you can go through, and it's free, just portions of Get Your Life Back. Then there's all these 1 minute pauses. And there's so many, there's awesome resources on here for just being able to help get your life in order so that you're not overwhelmed all the time like I have been. And it's really helpful. And it's, you don't have to use the app, but I give everyone and everything to you, Lord. And that's what he calls benevolent detachment. You're not saying, I don't care about these things, but it's like, I cannot solve the world's problems. So the Lord can, and this is all in his plan, which I struggle with. Everybody who submits to Jesus Christ, I know, has thoughts like, what's this plan, Lord? And so I am really submerging myself in my church and in women's groups and getting to know women because I miss my groups of people. I want to be face to face with people, face to face with people. And I'm in the new area, getting to know new people. And so I'm in I'm watching the time, Sunday night study and a Wednesday morning study, and going to church and talking with people and getting outside of my comfort zone. And there's a women's Bible study that we're also going through, and it's called Elijah by Melissa Spolstra. Anyway, it's on spiritual stamina. And the video aspect of that from last week, she was talking about this statement: how can I trust God in blank situation? How can I trust God in this situation? And then another thought: while it can seem like life is happening to you, it's life happening through you. So because I've trusted Jesus as my Savior, and I believe in God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and really allowing my connection, my relationship with God to infiltrate my whole life. And I struggle with that. Like, in this heartache, how can you be glorified, God? How can I do something in this? And so it's just asking God, okay, I'm not even in California. I can connect with my neighbors, ask them how they're doing, tell them I'm thinking about them. We were connected with different people as the fire is going on. How can you work through me in this situation? And so that's been huge for me. And then I talked to other ladies. We all have stuff going on, some big stuff, some small stuff. We all have stuff. How can we let God work in us so that we can work through this and help comfort people, help bring people joy? So that's what I'm working through, is How can me, I feel so inadequate, Lord. I don't even have the words to say sometimes because my brain, the gears in my brain just don't work the way I want them to, especially when I'm under stress or duress of some kind. Then what do I need to do? A lot of times I'll come in my sewing room or just sit outside and think, get my mind working so that I can be of use. I can be the hands and feet of Jesus. So that's what I wanted to share, and I'm so glad that I actually made it through this video. And if I can figure it out, I will put the pictures of Shanda and I together. And if not, I am just going to post this video and then figure out how to do all that later. But I just wanted to connect with you guys, and I know I've been missing, and I do that. That's part of who I am, is I hide and stitch, or I come out and face you and just stumble through this and do it, but hope to bring you joy. And that's my goal, is to bring you joy nevertheless. So God bless you guys.